We should talk a little bit about the book. The new edition has a whole bunch of stuff in the beginning, even before you start in on where you had in the original edition. Tell me what you've added and why that's important.
Well, and I did it because, I've told people that I was watching Greg Kokel, a friend of mine, his friend of yours too, who had done the 10th anniversary of Tactics.
That's right.
And when he did that, I said, "What are you doing that for?" I mean, I just hate when people update their books, right? Just
I've still got the old one.
Right. So I get that, but then when I saw, I got a chance to read it and look at it, what he was doing. He just sent it to me chapter by chapter as he was rewriting it. And I thought, I get it. What happens is that if you write a book and then you're asked to speak about it for any period of time, you start to reimagine a better way to say that same thing that people grasp easier. And you can only imagine it because you take your content in your book and you throw it out there in front of an audience and you kind of see, is it hitting?
Right.
Like, is it making any sense to people? Is there a better way to say this? Is there a briefer way to say it? So a lot of that shapes the way you rewrite things. That's part of it. And then secondly, so there's a bunch of stuff also I would do on the stage that I don't do. It's not in the book. And I thought, I wish I could have gone back and included that. And then I did the audible version of the book. We had an actor do the audible portion of the book before. And so it's maybe 7 or 8 years after it was published, I had a chance to go back and record it for myself. And so now you're getting a chance to read your book. If you've never done that before, it's like, it is brutal, right? Because you have to read your book without making any changes at all. If you change any one word, you mispronounce it, they're going to stop you and re-record that line. And so you don't get a chance to edit in real time. Like, I could say this better. I hate the way I wrote that sentence. So there's those kinds of things you realize. I realized recording it. And then finally, there was a bunch of stuff that I thought was, it is an evergreen book, but archaeology does change. And so I wanted to rewrite. So it's about 50 additional pages of content, and not just that, I left the red line kind of version of it to my publisher to show them that there's not a single page that we didn't make significant changes on. Okay. And then we added 300 illustrations because I wanted a book that felt more like Person of Interest, which is a book that if you open any page, you've got a graphic element. And I just think that's the design part of me says, hey, I'm trying to reach. I think that all of these books, although they're higher level than probably most high schoolers are going to want to read for leisure, I hope that they're attractive enough and that they are compelling enough that when people say, well, do you have a version for high schoolers? Okay, that is the version for high schoolers. That's exactly what I was teaching my high schoolers as a youth pastor. I just took the material from my old blogs and the stuff I was teaching high schoolers, and I crafted it into a book because I still think it's accessible for high schoolers, but it has to be visual. And I always lamented that the first book was not as visual as I would have liked it because I was a brand new author. And they're like, what? No, I don't think we want to add 10 more pages with all of your illustrations. No, we don't want to do that. So, okay, I couldn't do it. Now, this time I can. So that's what we did to this book. I think it's a very different book. But here's the more important thing, Lenny. You know it and I know it. We have to help the church make a move.
Yeah.
Make a change, to become better equipped to be able to talk about these issues, to think clearer and think more clearly, I should say, and then to be able to communicate what's true more clearly.
Right.
And so how do you do that? Well, a book is going to help, but everyone's got a book. I started doing courses at Gateway Seminary right down the road from you in Ontario. And that's where I went to seminary back when it was called Golden Gate Baptist. And I thought, okay, so we started recording sessions. So what we're doing with this book is anyone who purchases the book, if they go to coldcasechristianitybook.com, they can just, if you purchase the book and send us your verification of that and review the book, well, then we're going to send you a 30-session, 10.5-hour case makers course. It's everything I do on the stage. I just created it visually. It's full screen. So you'll see it's not a stage presentation. I did it right here. I just did it all. This is the stuff I did for the Gateway class. And I'm just offering that for free. And we had somebody, a research assistant, help us to create the written curriculum to go along with it. And you can earn a certificate. And that's all going to come to you for zero. Because if we don't help the church make a change, and a lot of this is, am I going to do it if it costs me, if I'm going to have to do it on an online format that's going to cost $200? That's ridiculous. I think $20 is too much. I think this is the truth. We need to be able to offer this So we've just put all that material up on the 5th, and so now it's all available, and we've already got hundreds of downloads of that course.
Wow, that's great.
And well, the hope is that, look, it's free.
Yeah.
And what's there to lose?
Right.
All you're going to come out on the backside of it is, and I suspect once you start it, you're going to binge watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I think once you start it, you're going to want to binge through it, and that's good. But I want to encourage people who may do that to fill out the actual curriculum also, because that's how you deep dive this, right? Like, you have to not just like surf the top. I mean, there's stuff that all of us are willing to study in its depth.
Right.
And we might argue, well, yeah, that's how I make a living. Well, I think how you make a living is less important than how you worship the God of the universe, personally. Like, there's like God and family, but somewhere your job is down here. It's a little bit lower, I suspect, but we are willing to spend way more time preparing ourselves as laborers than we are to prepare ourselves as Christ followers at some point. Yeah. And maybe it's just the old man in me. Once you retire and I don't have to work a case, now you have to drag me back to even advise on a case, right? I mean, I'll do it. And I still do it, but begrudgingly, because, to be honest, there's more important stuff. And if I don't take care of this stuff and communicate this stuff at this chapter in my life, when am I going to do it? Right. I mean, I had 25 years where I was just in the thick of it. I could do nothing else but work those cases. Well, now I get the chance to do other things, and this is the time to do it.
Yeah, there's an old saying that in America we tend to worship our work, work at our play, and play at our worship. And I think that's
so true.
I think that's true.
Yeah, that's a good quote. I might have to text you later to get that for your book, because that's exactly what we do, and we do this to our own demise.
Absolutely. So
yeah, for sure.
Now, 10 years. You had mentioned things like archaeological evidence changes. There's obviously ways you want to rewrite the book. However, there's a third factor that we haven't talked about. And I noticed this because I look at something like person of interest, which is a vastly different departure, even though you're still using evidentiary processes, but you're not looking at the direct evidence for the claims of Christianity itself. You're looking at secondary characteristics.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right. The fallout and all of that.
Right.
In 10 years, the culture has shifted significantly. And as you first jumped into it, and the questions that you've heard, and the people that you've responded to, and the people that you respond to today. For example, we did the Dare to Defend conference earlier this year.
That's right.
And one of the things that I'm sure you noticed, as I noticed, is apologetics is no longer talking about the Richard Dawkins of the world and throwing three lines of evidence. It's the mother who's coming up to the microphone broken, saying, my daughter has her best friend who's now trans, and what do I do about that? And even the skeptics and the doubters are coming at it from a different perspective. How has that changed maybe the way you start to present the gospel, present evidence for the truth of the gospel? Has that reshaped you in any way?
Oh, absolutely it has. You're spot on. Kind of the almost what we did with Cold Case Christianity is in some sense kind of Josh McDowell-ish, right? Where we're just focused on the facts. And Josh has done a great job of writing just a broad spectrum of different kinds of books with co-authors. So I think that the case for this generation has to be, is it true and is it good? And those have to be two parallel tracks in this route we're taking together with them. Is it true and is it good? I would argue that we're not interested in, it can't be as good as you think it is if it's not even true. Truth is at the foundation of goodness, because it turns out if you have a view that you just make up because it feels good, eventually it's going to bump into reality. So we have to make sure whatever we believe is grounded in truth. So you have to have both of those. And a book like Cold Case helps us to have the foundation about what is true. It can't be, Christianity can't be useful. It could be a useful delusion, but it'll always suffer, and your kids will always encounter it. If there's a truth out there that you're ignoring and pretending like it's not true to make your claims, well, good luck with that. So in the end, we have to be able to know, is it true? Now, person of interest is really about, is Jesus beautiful? Is his impact on the arts and on science and on education and on world religions and on literature is because of the beauty of the Christian worldview. that it is inspiring, and it inspires all kinds of different people in a way that nothing else has inspired them.